Big changes are on the way for Disney as they finally seem to be taking Epic Universe seriously. Hello everybody, welcome. For years, Disney has been dismissing Universal and Epic Universe, but with the official launch of Epic Universe just weeks away, it seems that the times, they are a-changin'. Disney has been the industry leader in theme parks and entertainment since I can remember. Since my entire life, it has always been the #1 pinnacle achievement when it comes to theme parks. They basically invented what it means to be a modern theme park. Every company looked up to Disney as the industry leaders, the innovators, the ideators, the place where magic happens. And they absolutely should be. They created places and spaces where adults and kids could come together and have a great time at a theme park. When lots of other entertainment offerings were separating adults from kids, they were able to create something that brought them together. And that is, to me, like one of my favorite things raising my kids was anything we could do together was awesome. Like television shows or cartoons or things that I enjoyed as the adult and the kids could enjoy as being children, those were like the magical things in our household. And so Disney is basically the pinnacle of that achievement. They have given us so many amazing things over the decade. They've given us Mickey and Minnie Mouse and all the different attractions and just the feeling that you get of seeing those characters come to life. They've given us things like Main Street USA and Cinderella's Castle and Sleeping Beauty Castle and just that magic that happens when you walk into that space. Amazing parades like Spectro Magic, bring it back. Spectro Magic, we all want it. Bring it back. That is the best parade that has ever been made. I'm sorry, like just please bring it back, Disney. Bring it back. Spectro Magic was it. They've given us Wishes and Happily Ever After, just amazing fireworks shows, just sitting there as a family or even as an individual, just flying solo and watching those amazing fireworks light up behind the castle. It's just amazing, magical. Nobody else comes close to that feeling. Attractions like Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean, Space Mountain, the Matterhorns, It's a Small World. I mean, so many iconic attractions. And they, of course, at Walt Disney World gave us the Disney bubble. This feeling, this sensation of being in this alternate universe almost. It's like you couldn't wait to just breach the gates of Walt Disney World and just drive through that sign that says the most magical place on earth. You've arrived into the Disney bubble and then never wanting to step foot out of that bubble again. Just being able to create that. Any company will tell you that they would love to create, if they could create that sort of bubble, they would do it in a heartbeat. And I just think that is such an achievement for Disney. Nobody else has ever come close to that. The list just goes on and on and on and on. Disney, rightfully so, has been this industry leader. But whenever you are the industry leader in something, inevitably someone else is going to come along and they're going to want to take a piece of your pie. They're going to want to get that market share. They're going to try and duplicate what you did and maybe even make it better because they want a piece of that pie. And while this seems kind of crummy, it's also great news for the consumer or the customer of those services and products because competition drives innovation and that makes better products and services, and that gives us a better experience. So a few decades ago, Universal came along and said, yeah, hey Disney, how's it going? We love you and all, but we want a piece of your pie. So move over, bacon. They think there's something meatier, and they went for it. In the beginning, Universal just flat out copied. I mean, they just straight copied what Disney did. They looked at what Disney did, decided what worked and what didn't work, took the things that worked, did those, and then tried to put their own spin on them and make them a little bit better or do something a little bit different. But basically, they just copied. Does anybody remember the Ride the Movies, right? Universal, Ride the Movies. It's basically a theme park, but it's like we're putting you into movies. And that was Universal's premise. And it was okay. They had some success with that. They got a little bit of market, kind of carved out their little portion of the universe, but they were kind of, looked at by Disney as kind of like, oh, aren't they cute over there in the corner? Look at them. They're so adorable. And they really don't think much. They really just didn't think too much about it. But it wasn't until Universal latched on to a huge IP called Harry Potter, the wizarding world that they created from that IP. When they latched onto that is when Universal really started to take off. And that's when it maybe started to go from, look at how cute Universal is, to, well, we might want to keep our eye on them, but we're really not too worried about Universal. So it started to change a little bit with Harry Potter coming along. And that was probably the single greatest stroke of genius that Universal has ever done to date prior to Epic Universe. Now, what's difficult about being the industry leader is staying the industry leader. You have to spend tons of money on R&D, research and development, trying to come up with new things, figure out what works, what doesn't work, try new things, and come up with something that's innovative that nobody's ever done before in order to keep that top industry leader spot. And then other people just come along and they just copy it, or maybe like tweak it and make it a little bit better, make it their own, which is a lot less expensive for your competitors because they're just taking what you spent bazillions of dollars creating, and they take it and go, cool, thanks for doing that. We know that works now, so we're going to do that. But it's going to cost us a lot of money because we didn't have to invent it. All we had to do was see what you did and then just make it ourselves. Then Universal came along and hired away a bunch of Disney's Imagineers. Now, to be fair, Disney fired a bunch of Imagineers that Universal swooped up, but Universal also did coax a lot of great Imagineers over from Disney to Universal with the promise of, creativity and free reign and returning back to the days of Walt Disney himself and giving them all this space and money to play with, whereas Disney had started to kind of go the other direction and they were limiting creativity a little bit more. At least that's how Imagineers felt. I'm not there, I don't know, but that's what I've heard from Imagineers. This is not what I've heard from social media, this is what I have heard directly from Imagineers. And they really got serious. They got serious about it. Universal said, we're serious. And they went all in Epic Universe. And Universal came out and boldly said, we're not okay with being number 2. We are doing these things to become number 1. That is the words of Universal themselves that they spoke. They want to be number 1. Epic Universe is their first big push to get there. And surprisingly, even though Epic Universe sounded amazing to all of us fans, looked amazing on paper, some of the concept art, some of the ideas, just absolutely looked amazing, Disney still just seemed like they didn't care. They still felt like they were like back in the days of like, oh, isn't that cute? Look at Universal over there in the corner, which was fairly surprising. Now, I will say, when Harry Potter and all that stuff started to come out, it was definitely improving Universal by light years. But there is a big thing that happened with Disney that maybe not a lot of people were aware of. It did increase visits and revenue for Disney as well. So when Universal started adding Harry Potter to their parks, that created an influx of people into the area to visit Harry Potter, but a lot of them were still going over to Disney. So it didn't really hurt Disney, it helped Disney by having Universal in the area and having more people coming to Universal. Because still, even with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, there was only maybe a weekend's worth or a 2 days worth of stuff to do at that park. And so people were like, yeah, but we go on vacation for a week. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Disney for a week, and we may spend a couple of days over at Universal to check out the Harry Potter stuff. So although it was great for Universal, and it was game-changing for them, it didn't really hurt Disney. So when Epic Universe came along, I guess I can see why Disney may have been like, cool, great. That cute little dog over in the corner is now that little puppy. It's cute, but it's bringing more to the table now, and that's going to help us. That's going to make us, again, it's going to give us more money. And so I can kind of see why Disney may have thought that. But what they were missing is that Epic Universe is no longer like just a small addition to an existing park, like the Harry Potter stuff to Islands of Adventure or to Universal Studios. Epic Universe is a transformative thing for Universal, meaning it takes it from being a 2 or 3 day thing to almost a week-long activity if you take Epic and Universal and Islands of Adventure and Volcano Bay and all the things, and almost kind of creates a bubble over there at Universal where people now go, well, actually, wait a minute. Now I kind of have to make a choice between a week at Disney and a week at Universal. And so I think that was the missing component that Disney wasn't quite getting, is that this isn't just going to lift you up, Disney. This is really actually going to make a run at taking your market share. So what we're seeing happening is a lot of people are booking Universal vacations and then going, and I might take a day or two and go over to Disney, where it was always the reverse before that. So if we look back at the recent history, and it's really changed a lot in the last 6 months. I just kind of want to go through actually the last year. It's really like crazy how fast this has shifted in the way Disney is talking about Epic Universe and the threat that it poses. Way back in April of last year, Bob Iger literally came out and said, we're not concerned about Disney. He went on to say, we've been creating all these attractions and lands and everything for the past decade in anticipation of Epic Universe. So he's basically saying, we've known Epic Universe is coming for the last 10 years. We've known about it. And we've made strategic choices to build all these cool new things. And to their credit, they really did build a lot of cool stuff. I think people forget about that. Like, they created Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in that time. They created the world of Pandora, the Avatar world area in Animal Kingdom. They created the Toy Story Land over in Hollywood Studios. They added things like Tron and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. They added things like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Now, some of those things, they replaced attractions, but they have done a lot of stuff in the last 10 years to add value to a Walt Disney World vacation. So they have been doing things to his credit from what he said. Then in May of 2024, Bob Iger basically doubled down and once again said, we're not concerned about Epic Universe. He still had this mentality of like a rising tide lifts all boats, that Epic Universe, when it opens, is just going to put more people in the area, and that's going to mean more money and revenue for Disney. But once again, kind of missing the point that this isn't just adding, this is literally going to take visitors away from Disney. But Bob Iger went on to say, we like our hand that we have. We like the hand that we've been dealt, that we've dealt to ourselves, and we are not straying from our path. We're going to keep going down this path, and that's end of story. Then came the November 2024, just a couple of months ago, earnings call, and they talked a lot about their predictions and what they're expecting, and will there be softness, and how much will we make, and all of that. And they talked about they're expecting 6 to 8% growth for Disney. And once again, in their statement, they specifically call out the fact that they looked at previous things when they have opened in Orlando, like Wizarding World, and when those things have opened, it has historically been beneficial for us, Disney. They go on to say that that effect is captured in their prediction. So they're still, that this is a positive thing for them, that Epic Universe opening will be positive for Disney, and that it will lift our boat with their boat, and it's gonna be great. And we've accounted for that in our numbers, and it's gonna be a positive net effect. So they were indicating that Epic Universe is going to give them a lift. It is not gonna be a negative in any way, shape, or form. Then came February of 2025, just a couple of months later, and only about a month or so ago, where suddenly Disney changed their tune. Disney CFO Hugh Johnston, he went on record and stated that they expect Epic Universe to have a small negative impact to their business, to their numbers. Now, he did go on to say that they have accounted for that negative impact in their numbers when they talked about the 6 to 8% growth in the last thing I mentioned. But this phrasing and the way that he couched it is very different, because prior to this statement, everything was rising tide lifts all boats. It's going to be positive for us. It is not going to be negative for us. This time they said, actually, it does look like it's going to be negative for us. Like, we are actually going to lose business. We are expecting to lose business and revenue from Disney World over to Universal, admitting that Epic Universe is going to cause a market share shift. that Universal is going to get more market share than they have today, and they're going to take that directly from Disney. That is a very different talking point than rising tide lifts all boats. Now, as Epic Universe is starting to open, and while the previews are happening and media have gotten to attend, it is getting wide acclaim from even predominantly Disney fan media outlets, even some media outlets that only cover Disney. Blog Mickey, a very popular outlet, has come out on record now and said, hey, we are expanding what we're going to cover on this channel. We're going to cover more things outside of the bubble, is the wording that they used. So while they predominantly did everything inside the bubble of Disney, they're now expanding to start talking about things outside of the bubble. Why would they do that? Clearly, they see the writing on the wall that Epic Universe is going to be huge and it's going to make a dent, and Universal has lots of other things planned, and they want to get in on that business. They also tweeted out that Epic Universe is a spectacular achievement. Of course, they had to go and add a little bit of disclaimer on there that says room for improvement, because they couldn't just give it to Epic Universe and Universal. They couldn't just come out and be like, Epic Universe rocks. They had to add that little bit on there. It's like, but it has room for improvement, whatever. But still, they do say it's a spectacular achievement. Disney Food Blog. I mean, it's named Disney Food Blog. It's not named Theme Park Food Blogs. It's named Disney Food Blog. And they tweeted out, they were speechless. They tweeted out speechless about Epic Universe. All ears. Again, the name All Ears. That's All Ears is Disney Mickey Mouse's ears. I mean, you could say, well, it's just all ears. We're all ears about everything. It really was a Disney predominant outlet. They have also come out and said, like, I got to visit Epic Universe. I'm literally, like, just totally wigging out. I'm losing my mind. I'm literally in tears. So people are just so impressed. Even the people begrudgingly are just impressed with Epic Universe. In addition to that, we know that Walt Disney World has recently received information. Their data shows that people's intent to return to Disney is at lower numbers than, like, historically low numbers of people saying after they leave Walt Disney World, and there's a survey that says, do you intend to return within a certain time frame? And those answers are no, a lot more than they've ever been. So their intent, like consumers' intent to return to Walt Disney World is declining month over month over month. Less and less people are saying they're going to come back to Walt Disney World. They are more than likely going to be going to Universal or Epic Universe or other things, like going to Europe. But this isn't a Universal exclusive thing. It's just saying when we would have normally gone back to Walt Disney World, we're not coming back anymore. Or at least we're not going to come back for a long time because of price issues, because there's other competition out there. Maybe they're mad about something Disney said or did. I don't know, but overall, lower intent. Then in March of 2025, just a couple of months ago, there was a Disney panel where they talked about the importance of the Disney bubble. Like, they came out and talked specifically about this topic and how they have been looking into, and they've been educated, and this has been beat into their minds as being an employee at Disney, how important it is to keep that bubble, to keep that bubble intact and not let anything burst that bubble. And that, of course, is referring to that Disney bubble that I mentioned earlier, getting in there, staying in there, not leaving the bubble and not wanting to leave the bubble because everything's perfect. The manicured lawns and the transportation and the food and the entertainment and everything you just like, and the service and feeling like a king or a queen and just feeling like everything is about you. That's the Disney bubble. And they know that that is what drives people to continue to come back to Disney year after year after year, is that bubble. But with that, I believe they are very concerned about the bubble not being as bubble-proof. What's the right word? I don't know, bubble-proof, poppable as it once was, because they continue to take away things that made the bubble to begin with. Things like free fast passes for Disney guests and being able to get your fast passes before anybody else and benefits around those fast passes. That's now a paid service for everybody. The Disney Magic Express and the ease of getting back and forth between the airport and the resorts. The resort airline check-in system. So a lot of the things that made the Disney bubble favorable, they started getting rid of them all. So all of that we just talked about is finally sinking in and is leading to Disney finally taking Epic Universe seriously. Because so now we're seeing some changes at Disney that is indicating, hey, yeah, maybe we ought to pay attention to what Universal's doing after all, because that Epic Universe is looking pretty good here, folks. Yeah, we may have fumbled the bag on this one. So what are they doing about it? They've made some big changes lately. They've made some big announcements, some big changes. I want to go through them all because they're really indicating and showing they're starting to take it seriously. And these are all like great for people like me who still enjoy the Disney parks. Like, I love Universal and Epic, don't get me wrong, I love it. But I still am a Disney fan too, and I can have both. I can have my cake and eat it too. So hopefully no one on the channel is mad because I just said I still like Disney. Well, I do. I like things about Disney. I like both. We can still be friends. First off, they just added free dining. Free dining. They haven't done a lot of free dining stuff for the last few years. They took a lot of that away, but they've now brought that back. And now what that does signal, when Disney brings back free dining, that signals that their hotels typically are in bad shape, meaning they are not seeing the occupation rates that they would expect to see of their hotels, and they're trying to draw people in to the bubble by offering them free stuff. And free dining is one of the biggest ways to draw people in. I know of people who had Universal planned vacations to go to Epic Universe, and when free dining at Disney dropped, they canceled their Universal trip and went over to Disney because it is that big of a draw. People love free dining. And so it is a big deal. When Disney offers it, it's not cheap for them. So that's something that they added, full stop, free dining for any guests. It doesn't have to be special Visa or pass holders, which is what it was last year. The year before that, it was like a $150 card per day or something for dining. There was a limit to it. And so they finally added back like full-on free dining for any guest. They've also given some huge summer discounts. And now they do offer summer discounts and always have. That is not a new thing, but the percentages that we're seeing this year over previous years is higher. Typically, they've been around 10 to 30% for general public. This year, they're starting at 15% and going up to around 30%, but they also do have like a 50% off. And this is a ticket deal for kids, for this like kids cool summer thing that they're doing. So they're really amping up a lot of the discounts and the offers and the dining and things, trying to draw people in because it looks like their numbers are maybe a little bit softer than they would hope. Then they rolled out this pilot for airline resort check-in. This again signals like that this is for all value resorts now. It's only for Southwest right now, but they've added this in. So like could this be signaling that they're looking at things like the Magic Express again and going, ooh, maybe we should add that back, because again, the bubble, that was a big bubble thing. And if the bubble bursts, that's really going to be bad for them. And so they gotta think about how to keep that bubble intact. So again, this could be a good thing. They could be thinking of bringing Magic Express back, and I would be 100% in favor of that. Over a third of all Disney resort guests, when the Magic Express exists, use the Magic Express service. It was hugely popular. They also returned the free parking a while back because they took that away for a little bit. They brought that back, so that was smart. Now we are still waiting for expansion news. Tropical Americas is underway. Construction is happening there. They're tearing things out there at Animal Kingdom. I will say Monsters looks like it's behind schedule. They have not met a lot of their milestones for that. I won't speculate on the reasons for why that's behind schedule, but apparently it is. We do also know that the Cars expansion there at Magic Kingdom and Frontierland and replacing Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island looks like it's moving forward. They filed new permits, like a half dozen new permits for trailers and construction yards and things like that. So that looks like it's happening. So again, good news that we're seeing some movement, we're getting some new things, but we're still waiting on news on that. And then, of course, we have Disney Villains Land, which is way, way off. I mean, we are 5-6 years out from seeing anything with that, but hopefully we start getting news on that soon. With all the pressure from Epic Universe, they're going to have to start pushing some of this stuff faster, and they're going to have to start getting people excited. And just the promise of a little Villains Land hanging out there 5, 6, 7, 8 years away isn't going to be enough, so hopefully we hear more news on that. And then, of course, we're getting the new nighttime summer parade. I am so excited. This big light parade. It's basically like a new version of Spectro Magic. I'm excited for it. Hopefully, it's amazing. because it's got big shoes to fill. Spectro Magic's the greatest of all time, so hopefully this new one is awesome as well. So lots of things in plan for Disney, a lot of cool things happening, discounts. Looks like they're finally taking Epic Universe serious, which again is great for all of us, because if they take it serious, that's going to push them to be better, and them pushing to be better is going to make Universal push to be even better, and we win in the end. So I'm excited for all this. I'd love to hear what you think about it. Do you think Disney is taking them seriously? Do you think it's too late for them to take it seriously? Are they so far behind the 8 ball it doesn't matter? They just aren't going to be able to catch up? I don't know. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What are your thoughts? Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this content. And thanks so much for watching. Until I see you next time, the Noble Way is the easy way. Bye-bye, everybody.